The next time you walk outside and see a spider hanging in the corner of your porch, or a small snake disappearing beneath the leaves, you might have the same instinct most people have. Step back, grab a broom, find something to kill it with. But what if that creature isn't invading your home? What if it's actually helping protect it? Because while we're busy trying to get rid of the things that frighten us, there are animals quietly working around our homes, gardens, sheds, and yards, catching insects, hunting rodents, and helping keep entire populations of pests under control. And the strange part is, many of these creatures aren't looking for a fight with us at all. They're trying desperately to avoid us. The spider isn't waiting for you. The snake isn't plotting an attack. And neither one is interested in taking over your backyard. They're simply trying to survive. And sometimes, their idea of survival happens to benefit us. For thousands of years, humans have learned to be cautious around things that could hurt us. And that instinct has served us well. But somewhere along the way, caution became fear, and fear became something else, a story. We started teaching children that spiders are monsters, that snakes are dangerous, that anything with too many legs, or no legs at all, should be avoided. And eventually, we stop seeing the animal. We see the fear. But nature doesn't see these creatures that way. A spider doesn't wake up in the morning thinking about frightening a human. A snake isn't crawling through the grass, searching for someone to chase. They're animals responding to food, shelter, temperature, predators, and survival. And when a human suddenly appears, we're often the largest and most unpredictable thing in their world. Let's start with the creature that probably receives more unnecessary hatred than almost anything else in the backyard, the spider. You see one hanging in a corner, and the first thought is usually, get rid of it. But here's something worth remembering. Spiders are predators, and their prey is usually much smaller than they are. Flies, moths, beetles, crickets, and depending on the species and circumstances, even mosquitoes and other flying insects can become part of the menu. Some spiders build elaborate webs and wait, others hunt. Wolf spiders walk across the ground searching for prey. Jumping spiders stalk insects with remarkable vision. Orb weavers construct silk traps that can turn an ordinary porch corner into a miniature hunting ground. Different spiders use different strategies, but the mission is essentially the same. Find food, eat it, survive. And that means every spider living quietly around your property represents one more predator participating in the ecosystem. And this is where the story gets bigger. Because your backyard isn't really a backyard. Not from nature's perspective. It's an ecosystem. The grass is habitat. The flower beds are habitat. The woodpile is habitat. The bushes are habitat. The cracks beneath the shed are habitat. Even that forgotten corner behind the garage is somebody's neighborhood, and every neighborhood has predators. If you remove enough predators, something else eventually changes. More insects may survive, more prey becomes available, and those prey populations can affect plants, other insects, birds, amphibians, and countless other species. This doesn't mean a single spider is going to eliminate every mosquito in your yard. It won't. And it doesn't mean you should expect snakes or spiders to replace every form of pest control. They can't. But they are part of the natural system that keeps populations from becoming completely unchecked. They are pest control, just not the kind that comes in a bottle. And then there's the snake. For many people, this is where the comfort level ends. A spider can be swept away. A snake? That's different. The sight of one can instantly trigger panic. But take away the fear for a moment and watch what the animal is actually doing. Most snakes don't want anything to do with you. They're looking for food. They're looking for shelter. They're regulating their body temperature. They're trying to avoid predators. And sometimes they're simply passing through. In fact, University of Georgia Extension describes the first response of many snakes when confronted by a human as trying not to be seen, followed by attempting to escape if possible. Defensive behavior can happen when the animal feels trapped or blocked. That's an important distinction. A snake defending itself isn't necessarily being aggressive. It's trying to convince a potential predator to leave it alone. Now, here's where snakes can become especially valuable, because some snakes are extremely effective predators of rodents. Mice, rats, chipmunks, and other small animals. Penn State Extension notes that snakes can consume rats, mice, insects, and other pest species, and the connection is surprisingly simple. Where there's food, there are predators. If a shed provides shelter for mice, and mice provide food for a snake, the snake may have a very good reason to live nearby. It's not there because it wants to invade your house. It's there because your property accidentally created a restaurant. And sometimes, the restaurant has a very good selection. This is why the phrase garden snake can be misleading. There isn't one universal garden snake. Different regions have different species, and their diets can vary dramatically. Some specialize more heavily in rodents. Others consume insects, worms, slugs, amphibians, or other small prey. So if you find a snake in your garden, don't assume you know what it is simply because it happens to be small. Identification matters, because the snake may be doing something very different from what you imagine. And there's another important lesson here. You don't have to love snakes. You don't have to pick one up. You don't have to let one live underneath your front door. Respecting wildlife doesn't mean putting yourself in danger. It simply means recognizing that an animal doesn't have to be cute or cuddly or familiar to have a role in the ecosystem. Now let's talk about the pest everyone can agree on: mosquitoes. Because if there's one insect most people would happily remove from existence, it's probably the mosquito. And yes, some spiders can capture mosquitoes, but here's where we need to be honest. A few spiders in your yard aren't going to solve your mosquito problem. Mosquito control is complicated. Mosquitoes spend important parts of their life cycle in water, and eliminating standing water can be far more effective for reducing breeding sites than simply trying to kill adult mosquitoes. So why mention spiders? Because nature rarely works through one animal doing one job. Instead, thousands of interactions happen at once. A spider catches one insect, a bird catches another, a frog eats another, a dragonfly captures another, and predators compete with each other while prey species compete for resources. It's not one solution, it's a network. And that's what makes these animals so fascinating. They're working without us noticing. You don't receive a notification when a spider catches a fly. There's no little report telling you that a snake removed a mouse from the ecosystem. You don't wake up and think, thank goodness, the predators are doing their jobs. Because when natural systems work properly, they're almost invisible. That's the point. A healthy ecosystem doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like nothing is happening. A spider sitting in a corner, a snake disappearing beneath leaves, a beetle moving through the soil, a bird calling from a tree. Everything appears ordinary. But underneath that ordinary scene, predator meets prey, prey meets plant, plant meets insect, and one life supports another. There's another reason I want you to look at these animals differently, because the next time you see a snake disappearing into the grass, watch what happens. It probably isn't coming toward you. It's leaving. And when you walk toward a spider, it may freeze, it may run, it may retreat into a crack. It may simply stay perfectly still and hope you don't notice it. From our perspective, that can look creepy. From the animal's perspective, it's survival. Imagine being a tiny creature weighing only a fraction of what a human does, and suddenly a giant being appears. It creates vibrations, it blocks your escape route, it casts a shadow over you, and it can destroy your shelter without even realizing it. We aren't just scary to these animals. To many of them, we are the largest predator they've encountered. Maybe the biggest lesson here isn't about spiders, and it isn't about snakes. It's about how quickly we decide something is dangerous before we understand it. We see 8 legs and assume danger. We see scales and assume aggression. We see something unfamiliar and assume it doesn't belong. But nature doesn't divide the world into good animals and bad animals. It doesn't care which creature makes us uncomfortable. Every species is part of a larger system, and some of the animals we fear the most are quietly providing services we would otherwise have to replace. Spiders eat insects, snakes can consume rodents and other pests, and countless other predators help regulate populations throughout our yards and gardens. That doesn't mean every snake is harmless. It doesn't mean every spider should be handled. And it certainly doesn't mean you should ignore a potentially dangerous animal. Respect. It isn't the same thing as fearlessness. Respect means knowing what you're looking at, giving wildlife space, and understanding that an animal being near you doesn't automatically mean it's attacking you. So the next time you walk outside and see a spider in the corner, maybe don't immediately reach for the broom. Take a second. Look at it. What is it doing? Where is it? What is it hunting? And if you see a snake, don't panic. Give it room. Let it move away. If you're uncertain what species it is, identify it from a safe distance rather than trying to pick it up, because that snake may be eating the very rodents you don't want around your home. That spider may be catching the insects you spend money trying to control, and neither animal may have any interest in you whatsoever. They may simply be passing through, doing what they have been doing for millions of years, surviving, hunting, avoiding predators, and keeping the enormous web of nature moving. We spend so much time trying to control nature that sometimes we forget we're part of it. We spray, we remove, we destroy. And sometimes we do it because something simply scared us. But fear doesn't always mean danger. Sometimes fear means we don't understand something yet, and maybe that's the change worth making. The next time you see a spider, look twice. The next time you see a snake, give it space, because the creature you're afraid of might be one of the creatures quietly helping keep your backyard in balance. And once you start looking at nature that way, you begin to see something incredible. The wild isn't somewhere far away. It's underneath your feet. It's behind your shed. It's in your garden. It's hanging from your porch. And sometimes it's slithering quietly through the grass. You just have to stop long enough to notice. Now I want to hear from you. What's one animal you've always been afraid of, that you see differently after learning what it actually does? And if you've ever had a spider or snake living around your home, did you leave it alone or did you reach for the broom? Tell me your story in the comments. You might be surprised how many other people have had the exact same experience. If you enjoyed discovering the hidden side of the animals living around us, make sure you like and subscribe to Wild Spaces, and don't forget to hit the bell to be notified for new videos I post at 7 a.m. every Sunday. Until next time, look a little closer, because there's always more happening in the wild than we realize.